Do you need to create a template, or would you like to start doing so? And here are 5 tips that you can use to improve all templates that you are creating for your company or for yourself. The first one, we sometimes don't know what's the length or the huge of information that we are going to be inputted here on the template. Sometimes it's a big number, sometimes a big name. So to deal with this, you don't want to mess up with the formattation from your template. To do so, you can highlight all the information that you are going to be all of the input, and you have this option here to wrap text. Whenever you have information here and it's larger than the range of this data, Excel will automatically update the range, and it's going to be create a bigger cell to input all the information that you have here listed, instead of messing up with the all information that you have on the right hand side. The second tip, it's always good to format the data from your table. So for example, here you have a number and maybe it's coming from a calculation, and after the dot, all the decimal are coming very huge because it's not an exact number. So something that you can do, you can highlight everything that you are going to change the formattation, for example, all the numbers, and you have many options here under the home tab. For example, in this case, I want to use number. You can go even here on the last option, more number format, and then you have an option to choose the type of format from the number that you want. And in this case, it doesn't matter the size and how much information I put here, it's always going to give me 2 decimals, so it's a better way to organize your number. But sometimes you have something very different from the common use from Excel. In this example, I have here a data using those bars instead of dash. If I press, for example, here, Ctrl semicolon, that's the normal way that I have in the settings of my Excel. I have here those dash separating years, months, and date. And if I go here to change the design of this data, I have only the option to choose short version or the long version, but it doesn't help me either. But there is a way that you can use a custom format for your number. So you choose this drop-down list, click on more number formats, and here on the left-hand side under the category section, you choose custom. And here I have the same way that I have presented there. But here instead of dash, I can change this to bars. And even if I insert a data here, if I press, for example, again, Ctrl semicolon, it's going to retrieve me the information. If you notice here, if I press semicolon, here would appear in the way that I have in my Excel, but then once I hit enter, it's going to transform it to the way that I want to have this data. And the fourth tip, you can use a data validation and make sure you can use some rules for your cell when it's more complex. For example, in this case, I can write a validation to measure the size of my text, and if it surpasses or maybe it's bigger, for example, it's not going to accept. To do this, we are going to use a data validation. You can go on the tab data, and here on the right hand side you have data validation, and you choose the first option, data validation. You're going to get this data validation pop up, and then under the allow you have this drop down list where you can choose the type of validation that you can use. Maybe you want a whole number, you want to use a list, you want to use a date, but you have this text length. And let's say you wanted to use here a character limitation of 10. You want to choose the data less than, you choose the maximum, and you hit OK. So here you can type anything that you want, but then once you type more information, it's going to get this pop-up saying that it doesn't allow. So in this way, you have a way to restrict more Excel. Excel is very great because it's very flexible, but sometimes you want to restrict the user to not mess up with this one. And the last option that you have to increase your template, you need to restrict and allow users to only enter data in certain fields. This will also help you to remove those small triangles when you have a formula, for example. For most cases, it's because you're not protecting your Excel. So to do this, you wanted to make sure all the data is protected, so you can press Ctrl A, right click, format cells, and here you have under the tab protection, you want to have this one locked. And now you wanted to select all the range that you wanted to unlock. For example, in this case, I wanted to unlock all this information here. I have every cells highlighted. I can right click, format cells, and uncheck this information. And finally then I can go here on the tab review and protect the sheet. If you want, you can add a password. If not, you just leave as a blank and hit OK. Now users cannot delete the headers, they cannot insert a row, that can only enter the data here on the fields that you allow them to enter. If you want more tips on how you can improve your Excel abilities, follow this channel for more.